Good morning, good afternoon, and evening, baseball fans. Welcome back to the Barstool Baseball Show. It's Carl. I'm with Castellani and Klemmer. This is a special edition Tuesday show, late Monday. We just got done with Game 7 ALCS, and the Phillies forced their way into Game 7 for the NLCS. Unbelievable turnaround within the last week and a half. It wasn't too long ago we got together on the show, and it was a generally somber mood, and rightfully so, because the playoffs hadn't had any spectacular moments. So let's just start there. How do these playoffs stand out now that we've got back-to-back Game 7s?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's great. I guess one thing was, today was a great day on paper for baseball, and it was an exciting to watch the games, and you had a lot going on. These were two pretty shitty games, but getting 2 Game 7s and LCSs, like that, what more can you ask for? And honestly, with the exception really of today, for the most part, the Rangers Astros here is very competitive.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, that you're not going to turn down 2 Game 7s. I can't recall the last time that this was a thing that happened. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. Did it happen in 2020?
Yeah, okay, I checked. I honestly, Chris, I didn't know. I remember that. I looked it up earlier today. I had no recollection.
That year doesn't count, so it's whatever. But it's cool to see, and I think what makes these particular Game 7s so unique is how unpredictable they are, considering the fact you had the Rangers up 2-0 going back to their place, end up winning in 7. You had the Diamondbacks that many people, myself included, probably declared dead, if not when they were down 2-0, definitely going back to Philadelphia down 3-2. The fact that these series have been unpredictable enough to be pushed to 7 games, it is what makes baseball.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
That's great points.
Yeah, it is what makes baseball postseason so awesome and unpredictable that you can't just pencil in a team going back home and winning the way that they often do in, say, the NBA. It's a lot more like hockey in that way. So, yeah, the unpredictability, parity is always a good thing.
So I want to preview the NLCS Game 7 matchup a little bit more in depth, but first let's spend some time on the ALCS. It just wrapped. I thought the Rangers were obviously super aggressive. That was something we pointed out coming into the game because they were going to see Christian Javier second time through. And Smoltz talked about it in the broadcast that his secret sauce is just kind of the uniqueness to his fastball, and it's just different and it's hard to pick up. And the Rangers had went to great lengths in between the last time seeing him and tonight to make adjustments in their pre-prep work. They were talking about using weird foam balls or something in the machine that rise a little bit more, just because, again, Javier's secret sauce, it's not that he's overwhelming or more dominant or just crazy stuff. It's just he's got a unique look to the fastball. The ball comes out of his hand a little bit differently relative to other four-seam fastballs. So the Rangers, not only is it making that adjustment physically, but then it's the mental side of you want to set the tone for Max Scherzer. You don't want Max Scherzer going out into a duel situation. He only gave you 3 innings, but out of the gate, the Rangers had to be aggressive. They did that. They punched him in the face. And then right away, Bochy makes his moves. And Bochy, I think, completely outmastered Dusty Baker.
Yeah.
Dusty Baker why not go to Abreu? Why not go to Stanek? Why not go to one of the better shutdown guys you have in the back of your bullpen earlier in the game to at least give yourself a fight while you're down? That's just old school baseball. Did either of you guys have any big criticisms for Dusty or the Astros, or do you think the Rangers just showed up today and blew their fucking doors off?
I mean, yeah, I don't think he managed a great game, but at the same time, I'm sorry his starter got 1 out. You are putting yourself so far behind the 8 ball, and quick hook. He did the right thing there. You had to pull him. I mean, it's a winner take all situation. But yeah, ultimately, there's a lot of decisions that Dusty made, I think, in this series in terms of lineup construction and bullpen management that are a bit questionable. But he didn't manage the bullpen any differently than how he managed it last year when they won the World Series. I think that this is just a prime example of the Astros pitching falling off a little bit and the Rangers bats getting red hot when it mattered the most.
So something we point out with the Phillies was them going to Rojas in center field and using Marsh in left field and kind of controlling the risk and the variance. And you can put more emphasis on run prevention when you have, in a shorter window with a smaller sample size where you would emphasize defense. And I thought interesting enough in the first inning, Michael Brantley's a guy that came back late in the season. Obviously you would prefer his bat in the lineup, but they could have had DeBon in McCormick. Do they make that play in the first inning? And is it a 1-0 game going into the bottom half of the first? There was that ball that hung up in the air. I'm trying to think who hit it, but it was just that to me was how I don't know how you could say this. The game was over in the first inning. It was just that's just the way it was.
I mean, the range. I mean, I don't like to speak in these kind of cliche terms because but the Rangers just weren't going to lose this game. Like, you know what I mean? Like from the outset, like just you saw the aggressiveness, and you talk about how like they were doing the extra work with the batting cage with the different balls, and then you look at the aggressiveness of Seager, and then Adolis was just it was just like, all right, like this team is not going to just lie down, and I give Bochy and I give the Rangers a lot of credit from a mental and a heart perspective, because it's to lose 3 games at home and then have to go to Houston and have, especially Max Scherzer on the hill, like a lot of teams would have just given up. They would have just quit right there in Game 6, gotten the doors blown off, and called it a day. Bruce Bochy and that team, I don't know who the leaders are in that clubhouse or not, had those guys ready to play each of the last 2 nights. Tremendous effort, tremendous chutzpah, tremendous balls, if you will, big balls, big testicles, to do that. So I give them a lot of credit.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like the way that they won Game 6 gave them so much confidence going into Game 7, because it really did feel like last night with the Astros putting as many guys on late as they did, that was going to be the moment where they were going to break through, and they just couldn't. And then you get into that 1 game sample size where anything can happen, and they carried that momentum over, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, but even without the storylines and the suspension that wasn't, and the guys being thrown at, Adolis Garcia had one of the greatest performances in Game 7 history tonight, straight up. I mean, that was marvelous work, and him and Seager. I mean, that was the Texas Rangers offense that was so good throughout the regular season, showing up when it mattered most in October and winning the pennant.
So and go back to Brantley for a second. Like, and this is, I know people are probably tired of hearing this from me, but the pedigree stuff. But this is why you gotta sometimes like dial back from that, especially if you're the manager. It's one thing as a fan, be like, oh, I like these guys, I root for them for every year or whatever. But like, Dusty's reliance on someone like Brantley, who was way past his prime, had really no business being out there today compared to having, I know McCormick started as well, but I feel like the Astros have different outfield alignments they could use and choose not to play Brantley, who by all accounts is a great guy, has had a very nice career. I mean, that's a mistake. It didn't matter. The Rangers are going to win this game no matter what. But I think those kind of moves, I think a more modern, I don't want to say intellectual, but a more modern cerebral manager might have not done that.
Yeah, Brantley wasn't in the lineup until the very end of the season, and we did a couple of really deep dives into the Astros, and I think it was like mid-August, early September, late September, and at no point when we were going through those outfields had we like really considered Brantley. It wasn't until going into the postseason where it was a realization like, okay, they're going to run it. This is their everyday left fielder. They're running him out there.
He went over 5.
Devon and McCormick. He did hit the ball hard a little bit. A consummate hitter. Great matchup against Scherzer. There's a lot of reasons to like Brantley, but I would go back to, I don't believe in those to be better reasons than the run prevention and managing as much risk as you can.
It's also that's what the Phillies have done. Martin Maldonado, same kind of thing. Like, this guy is not a good hit. I mean, he's a horrible hitter. He's not that great defensively anymore. He's fine, but they have a very good catcher on the bench. It's like, what are you doing here, guys? Like, that's just Dusty Baker leaning on his veterans and probably believes in things like pedigree or these like kind of like things that are for fans fine, but if you're managing the baseball team trying to win the game, that's not. I guarantee. And maybe people don't want to. Front offices are not building their teams around pedigree. Like, that's not how a front office analyzes and how to build a team. Like, that's just not how it's done in a professional level.
Well, when you say pedigree, don't shortchange subjective stuff like character, work ethic, cultural fit. Like, a lot of people would say Dansby Swanson's worth 60% premium because of all that shit, and just the way you show up and preparation, defensive alignment, all this shit.
I don't know if analytics run front offices are thinking he's worth 60%. I'm guessing they would not come to that conclusion.
But even if you, with somebody like Maldonado, man, even if you do want to base it off of pedigree, he's always been a bad hitter. It's not like it's not like Yadi Molina near the end where you're like, hey, you know what? The guy's had a remarkable career. At his peak, he could hit, has seen the ball well in October. Like, this has been who Maldonado's been since he was, in the early part of his career. And in the past, okay, whatever. But with Yainer Diaz having the year that he was having, you knew you needed runs. I don't know. And not to mention, every time Maldonado came up, there were 2 guys on. Every single time he came up, there were guys on base. And just, I think the biggest difference to me in this series, I mean, there were a lot of things, is the Rangers lineup was so much deeper than the Astros that once you got past 5 in that Astros lineup, especially with Tucker having the series he had, there's no threats there. By the time you got to the 9 spot in the Rangers lineup, you're a pitcher, you can't breathe. I mean, that they did all they could, and tonight everyone was seeing the ball well. I think it was a nightmare scenario for the Astros, and very decisive. I mean, a blowout in Game 7 is pretty rare.
I would very much venture to guess that Maldonado's calling the game and completely in charge of pitch selection.
Yeah,
and so much better than Diaz in that regard. Because it's obvious objectively when you compare the two, how bad Maldonado's been. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. So then what would be the advantage when you're putting the lineup card together? Obviously, Dusty's going to favor his veterans, but the front office is putting Maldonado there in the first place. So I would imagine there's some underlying considerations, whether it's framing. I'm sure he's a great framer, but down to working with the pitchers against this Rangers lineup when you've seen him 7 times now. Yeah, like Javier didn't execute. They should have made that play in the outfield. And it's a completely different circumstance if he's getting into the second, third inning and it's a 1-0 game or it's a 1-1 game. It just completely got away in the first inning. But I'm trying to reason my way through, like, why would the Astros value Maldonado? Because we saw it throughout the series of him coming up with runners on, completely coming up empty. Now, I'm very excited to see what the Astros do into the offseason.
Me too. Is this the end of Dusty Baker?
It should be. He's earned the right to retire, and with a ton of respect from us, there's nothing left he has to prove. And I can see Jim Crane or Crane?
Crane. With an N.
The bird.
I can see him looking for a new manager and seeing the writing on the wall. Right.
Very appealing job. I mean, they could get anybody they want here. So yeah.
Yeah, it is appealing to some extent. It definitely feels like a sitcom that's nearing the end. Maybe they introduced the baby already in the sitcom, and we're kind of on that stage, season 6 or 7 of a 9-season run. I feel like this end is coming sooner rather than later for the Astros.
I can see that, and honestly, if depending on what happens next year, we could look at tonight as that window. But they've been very smart with their free agent signings in the past. I do think the pitching near the end here, when you saw what happened with Frommer, I do think there's more question marks for the Astros right now than there's been probably 6-7 years. And ultimately, and this happens when you are buyers at the deadline. The biggest thing that Dana Brown's going to have to do as their GM, their farm system sucks now. It's completely dead. So if they're not great next year, then they're probably not going to be great for a while because those reinforcements aren't coming the way that they were 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what their budget looks like with the arbitrations. Yeah, right? Like, is Jordan's not signed through? Some of these guys are going to be pretty expensive, right?
Honestly, after this series, it makes me wonder because there's been so much talk about a potential Kyle Tucker extension. I think that's definitely going to the wayside now with how he performed.
I mean, the other thing too is they traded Drew Gilbert to my Mets for Verlander. Man, they're gonna have Verlander next year. I mean, he's not getting any better. And Framber, maybe if he's hurt or whatever, maybe he can fix himself and go back to the guy that he was, and that does change that rotation quite a bit. But some of the guys, I think Connor Brown will have a better year next year. So don't get me wrong, I think they're going to be competitive next year. I don't think this show is getting canceled. But I think the cancellation, I think they're a couple of years away from things getting pretty bad there. And I don't know if they have the budget to be able to go in there and completely refresh and renew. I give the Astros credit. They've been a very good team, obviously great team, the best team in baseball the last 7 years. But I don't think this is a 20-year run for them.
Agreed.
All good things must come to an end.
Yeah. Or kind of bad things that started with the cheating scandal and has been kind of boring and hasn't been the best, in my opinion. I just haven't been a huge fan of this era, if you will.
I was hoping you would take it there. I was hoping you would add
I always go for the
sad touch.
Right. Yeah.
The Rangers will play Friday in the World Series.
Yeah. And they have home field, right?
Yes.
Correct. And
Eovaldi Armani.
Got to be Eovaldi to me.
It'll be Eovaldi. Do you know why they have home field advantage?
They won a series against the Phillies, right?
Opening day, the very first series. So to go all the way back to March, they got swept. The Rangers swept the Phillies. So even though they had the same record, because of what happened in March, it pays dividends in November, which is wild.
Because it would be record. It would be regular season
record,
win.
I believe. And they have the same exact record. So then the next tiebreaker is head-to-head, and it's 3-0 in the favor.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're clear on this. We're not setting up Rob Manfred, so people are coming at Rob going like, "This is stupid. Why would you have head-to-head for World Series?"
No, this is not an attack on baseball at all. If anything, it means the regular season means something.
Right. The current format is perfect. The current format, no All-Star game decides it. You go head-to-head record if there's a tiebreaker. Perfect.
Is it Eovaldi versus Zach Gallen, or is it Eovaldi versus Zach Wheeler? Let's talk NLCS. The Diamondbacks took control very early tonight.
I think Eovaldi versus Wheeler. I still think Phillies.
I'm not saying either of those pitchers yet because we haven't seen Game 7. We don't know who's coming out. We don't know what's happening. You know who it might be? Who just pitched today? Merrill Kelly. Although, would he be going on? He'd be going on too short a rest, maybe? I don't know. At this point, I can't even think about that Game 1 because we have, when people hear this tonight, to talk about this Game 7, and everything's going to fly in the wall there. It's going to be wild.
So Gallen's obviously available then. Yeah. Zach Wheeler's available. Yeah. The only people that aren't available are Aaron Nola and Merrill Kelly.
I would not even rule them out.
Well,
I wouldn't rule Kelly out. He only went
for an inning.
I wouldn't rule Kelly out. I might rule Nola out. Nola was terrible today.
You didn't get that from Nolan. We've talked about this with Nola before. His good is awesome, and his bad is very bad. And it really has nothing to do with anything other than just like his pitch dynamics, the way his pitches work, so that when he's excellent, he's unhittable, and it looks like it's a video game. And when he's bad and you don't get that action, those balls don't have the downward, like the vertical movement. They just go right over the plate. It's so much easier to barrel the ball up against when his shit's flat. And so it's bad. It's bad. It's flat.
Why can't they fix this, Carl? So it's always the same problem. It's the home run ball. Why can't they get it? So I don't know if maybe the rotation is more of a ground ball efficiency to it or what it is, but it's always the home run that fucks Nola every single time.
It's so minute, dude. It's so you feel it or you don't. There isn't even like a mechanical thing. The self-talk there is like quick arm, stay back, loose, free and easy, throw it through the catcher's mitt, like let the grip do the work. There's so much fucking self-talk that goes into the any little deviation of this. And then if you have a runner on, or if, the grip doesn't feel right, or like, pitchers that really rely on touch and feel, like when you lose it, it's very difficult to get it. But that said, when Nola's dominant, it's as dominant as you can ask for. It's just two seamers that don't sink. Like when his sinking fastball isn't getting the vertical, drive on it, which could be for a number of reasons, the ball just looks way bigger. Like his mistakes are way worse. I love Smoltz calling games. I can't say that enough. If you guys aren't like learning more from John Smoltz in game, he's the best play-by-play guy. You'll learn more from John Smoltz in 6 innings than you will like 6 months watching regular season baseball. And he was talking about the philosophy when you face a guy like Wheeler. You have to be in the box ready to just fucking unload. Because the idea that you guys are going to string 3-4 hits together, put pressure on him, and then you're going to create an environment where he's going to make more mistakes, like fucking get lost, buddy. You're lucky if you get 1 or 2. And so you want to be able to like try and be the aggressor in that scenario. And to really tie this together, like that's what drove Maddox's greatness. And Greg Maddux would just be able to would eat you alive because none of these mistakes are coming. They're not coming. And you're in the box and you're like, okay, I got to be aggressive because I'm not going to get shit to hit. So like at that point, the pitcher is in complete control. Nola couldn't get there tonight. Wheeler's been there all series long because his stuff's just unhittable and the hitters get in the box like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. So I do think when you're that good, that's the head game. But there's only a number of pitchers that can do that. Garrett Cole's one of them. Well, obviously, yeah, Wheeler.
I guess that's true to some extent, but Nola, you make a great point about how when Nola. So in the first inning, Nola looks like 1999 Pedro Martinez. He was unhittable. The second inning, he looked like 1999 Jose Lima. Where we're like, oh, home run, here we go. Like it's fun, and it's just like, what happened to the guy I just saw 10 minutes ago? And I was sitting with Smitty watching the game, and he's like, no, this is what it is every fucking time, and it's just like that is so frustrating. And I made a tweet. I sent it out as kind of a joke tweet, but like, don't worry, Philly fans. Like, he's going to be a Dodgers problem next year. And I think that might be true.
Yeah, I could see that.
It just makes a lot of sense on a lot of levels. Dodgers have a lot of money coming to the books, but he is a free agent. Look, he's had a great playoff. I'm not trying to and I love Aaron Nola. I think Aaron Nola frustrates me because I keep hoping he'll be better. It's probably how teachers felt about me when I was in school. Like, this guy gets horrible grades. He should do better. It's like, no, I'm really just an idiot. Maybe Nola would tell me the same thing, but I keep thinking Nola's going to keep being better. And he is good. He's very good at times, but then other times it's just like, fuck.
A good comparison, if just watch like Eovaldi pitch next time, and he's so repeatable. Like, his arm swing, the ball's coming up to his ear. And this is a really small nuance, like physical thing with Nola, but he does have a loose, free arm swing. It's on a long path. And so it's just a repetition thing where like there's a greater error for him to get out of sync, but that long arm swing allows him to get great arm side run on multiple pitches, changeup, sinker. The other thing too, because he does throw a sinker and a slider. He does throw a sinker and a cutter. He does use both sides of the plate. And Valdez ran into this problem because Framber Valdez picked up a cutter, and like the more you adapt yourself to the cutter, the more you're going to lose on your sinker. Like, you can't have the best of both worlds. You can pick one side to dominate. Now, guys like Maddox obviously can do both. Roy Halladay can do both. That's what makes you a Hall of Famer and like world-class dominant. I think there is a little issue with Nola there where it's like, do you want to feel the sinker? Do you want to feel a breaking ball? So if I went, I don't know. If there's one organization that could figure it out, it would be the Dodgers. Now, Merrill Kelly, on the other hand, are you guys more like, man, the Phillies didn't show up tonight, or did he do well in your opinion?
Yeah, you see, that's where I feel like we're leaving that out. I thought that was a really gutsy outing on his part. Wasn't anything overwhelming, wasn't anything amazing. 5 innings, 1 earned. I think they gave him exactly what they hoped for. It seems like Lovello has something of a script for these games. He was frustrated when they took him out, but we talked about it. His game 2 outing, he never really looked right. But of his performances so far in October, he's been really good in 2 of them. I mean, 6 scoreless against the Dodgers, 5 innings, 1 earned tonight against the Phillies. I think that was, even with them taking that early lead, there's something to be said about that ability to cut off that crooked number and make sure that you hold on to that lead. You felt like Philly's offense at some point was going to put pressure on. They did, and it just never led to any big explosion. So I thought he seemed to be in command. I thought that was a really tough outing by him.
Great outing by him, but at the end of the day, it was only 5 innings.
Right.
So, like, the Phillies didn't show up. Like, Ryan Thompson, Saul Frank, Ginkel, and Sewell. Look, Ginkel and Sewell are nice pitchers for sure, but they also shut them down. 4 innings, I'm looking at it. 4 innings, 3 hits, no walks. Like, that tells me the Phillies didn't show up. It wasn't just Merrill Kelly. I do want to speak about Merrill Kelly for a second. This narrative we heard, you can't insult the Philadelphia fans. They're gonna come after you when you pitch. You wait. You angered the bear. It's like, they're just going to yell louder at him. What the fuck? What does he care? Like, really, like, I hate that, like, idea, like, if you are in a loud, angry ballpark, it doesn't matter. You're just pitching. Like, what does it really matter to him?
Well,
and
okay.
He showed it tonight.
Okay, here's my counter.
Okay.
When the Johnny Cueto game, when he would drop the ball, you don't think he felt like a little rattled in that instance? Like, you don't?
I don't know. I guess I have to go back and actually watch that and see it kind of in real time here. Now, did the Cueto stuff happen after he dropped the ball, before he dropped the ball? Like, is it kind of thing where you make one mistake and then, maybe the crowd does feed off of that? I don't know. But I think we make because fans obviously want to be involved. And I think sometimes we make way too much of like that as opposed to like, no, Merrill Kelly is like either going to get the guys out or not. It doesn't really matter how much you yell at him.
Yeah, I think it's a case-by-case basis. For sure. I think it's a case-by-case basis. I think in the case of somebody like Cueto, maybe it took him a minute to adapt to those very intense environments. Somebody like Kelly, yeah, you're right. In game 2, he just didn't pitch well. I didn't view it as, the Phillies fans are on his dick. Today, look, they were ready. The champagne was on ice, and they were loud as shit there. And he just went out and he executed his pitches. So I agree with you. And I think, and tomorrow will be another interesting example. What version of Fott do we get? Like,
let's get in. I want to get into Game 7 matchup previews because this is where, and we got into a little bit with like the whole kitchen sink, and these pitchers are going to be available. Realistically, though, both teams are putting starting pitchers out there where like they may not have to go to the bullpen until the 7th or 8th inning based on what we've seen in the series. Ranger Suarez is very, very comfortable in this situation, and Brandon Pfaadt's coming off the best start of his life with momentum. Now you can disagree with that all you want, but I'm saying we're not coming in. It's not a stated bullpen game. This is not a stated bullpen game.
We haven't gone with Fott very long at all in any of his starts. Like, we haven't seen Fott even sniff the 7th inning. So we just haven't seen it. Now look, he was good enough his last start to go deeper in the game for sure, but they had a quick hook on him. And I'm guessing in Game 7 that hook gets even quicker. So while I agree with you more on the Philadelphia side than the Arizona side about that point, I don't know how long they'll stick with Fott. I didn't just from what we've seen before, not from how he's pitching, if that makes any sense.
No, makes plenty of sense. Makes plenty of sense. I guess that was a poor job of me setting up that I didn't think it was a clear bullpen game where, like, the hook's fucking in on first inning. You know, like, all right, you're just out there to get 4 or 5 guys. Like, I would be surprised if they did that. Torey Lovullo doesn't manage like that either. I think Torey Lovullo went up to him and was like, listen, here's the situation, kid. Like, you're the best pitcher in the world. You're going out there to throw a complete game shutout. Don't think otherwise. I really like Torey Lovullo, and I know you don't like these types of narratives and stuff, but like the way he interacts with the media and the way his messaging, if that's what he's saying to these guys, for example, when he's talking to the media and he's like, yeah, I know we're our backs up against the wall. It's been that way the whole season. I told these guys, I love these guys. I'm proud of these guys for even putting us in this. The whole sentiment of like, I'm just proud of my guys and I know they're going to fight till the very end. And if they're good enough, they're good enough. And that's the best I can ask for my guys. You don't really see that. You know, if we talked a little bit about Dusty Baker earlier, like he is a player's manager and stuff, but there is certainly a faction of managing baseball that is like distant and not really loving. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like Torey Lovullo is like a loving manager, and I think that matters.
I think in the 21st century, we've gotten away a little bit from the humanity of the game when it comes to managers. And I think when you see the teams that are still playing here, you know, it is teams that have maybe not older managers, but managers that are a little bit more in tune with the personalities in that clubhouse. It's this, and I think, I mean, I hate to rip on a guy who I think does a really good job, but I think it's one of the reasons why a team like Tampa Bay kind of flames out in October every year. It's like these games aren't won on spreadsheets, dude. Like somebody like Fott, that was a ballsy move, being like, all right, we're going to let him go 4. Fuck it. Let's let him go 5. All right, let's let him pitch into the 6. That's a feel moment. And even then they gave him a quick hook, you know? But so I think that that's a huge reason why a team like Arizona finds himself in this spot.
I think Lovullo is a great manager. You know, people forget because it was so long ago, but he was the manager in 2017 when they went to the playoffs. You know, I'm looking at it right now. He's been with Arizona now for, 7 years. He's got a .480 winning percentage, which I know doesn't sound like much, but if you think about what that roster went through and how horrible on a talent level those teams were, they gave up on Paul Goldschmidt. They traded Paul Goldschmidt, Like, that was a team that could have easily just given up and died. And he had them playing competitive baseball all throughout. I like this guy a lot, and he is a loving manager because you saw it remember when they were playing Mookie Betts and the Dodgers? Mookie Betts walked in one of the press conferences, and Lovullo and Mookie had to embrace. Mookie Betts like, I love this guy. This guy took care of me because he was a AAA manager in Pawtucket. It's like, this guy took care of me when I was in the minors with the Red Sox. I love this man. And Torey's like, I love you too, but, you know, like, bad luck. And they kind of had a funny little give and take. Very natural, did not seem forced, seemed very organic. They seemed like two men that had deep respect and mutual care for each other. I was like, all right, this guy gets it. This guy is a great leader of men. And I also think on top of that, he's a really smart baseball guy. Like, he seems to make the right moves more often than not. I think he's a pretty good strategic manager. He gets the most out of his bullpens. I think Torey Lovullo is a very good manager, great manager, maybe one of the top 5, probably one of the top 5 managers in baseball. I cannot say enough good things about Torey Lovullo.
Speaking of manager, we got breaking news. Dusty Baker, done.
What?
Dusty Baker, this is from the Athletic official account. Dusty Baker has expressed to multiple inside and outside the sources inside and outside the Astros organization that 2023 will be his final season as manager.
Are we in a time machine? Did I fall asleep for 3 weeks, or did this just happen 20 minutes after the game ended?
I don't know. He wanted to get out of there, I guess.
Well, okay. I guess he had 2 feet out the door instead of just 1, like I thought. Okay.
Does that bother you?
Yeah, it does. It would bother the hell out of me if I was on that team. Just give me a fucking week, Dustin. Like, what are we, like, oh, you want it out that bad? That's how bad you want it out?
I'd snap, dude. If I'm like Bregman at the locker.
I don't know, man.
And everybody's just asking you, like, what about Dusty? What about Dusty? What about Dusty? You know, if you talk to Dusty, did Dusty tell you guys? Did you know Dusty was leaving? Like, somebody in that clubhouse is going to snap.
It's ironic because the last time I remember something like this was Garrett Cole in the 2019 World Series when the Astros lost, and he walked into the dugout or in the locker room with a Boris hat on, not even rocking an Astros cap, being like, yeah, I mean, I'm a free agent now. I don't know what to tell you, which ironically, that was a series where neither the home team didn't win a game either. But yeah, a bit bizarre. I would argue, though, to a certain extent, maybe he's trying to take the heat off the players, like making, I don't know. They just, no. Okay. Yeah.
So
you know what? Actually, I'm sorry, Chris. I'll entertain like that. Like that's like a side salad, like 1% of that. Maybe he's like, there's a nice. That's a horrendous idea, a horrible idea to take any pressure off the players. Yeah. Just let them lose and go home. But what's up?
I think the next manager, we probably can say it. I'm guessing is probably gonna be Joe Espada. I'm guessing the bench coach of the Astros. I would put him as a heavy favorite to get that job. Meek Phil just texted our baseball chat and said, "Buck Showalter." I think he's doing that tongue in cheek. Obviously, Phil's funny, but I think Joe Espada, I'm sure, has to be the odds-on favorite guy that would get managerial chances on his own anyway. I would think. Can I give you a dark horse?
And it would drive me insane because I think he sucks. Brad Ausmus. I think that for some reason, I don't understand why Brad Ausmus has failed upwards multiple times. He's been a manager twice. Dave Dombrowski said it was the best interview he ever conducted when he got hired by the Tigers. I don't get it, but he has not managed since 2019, close with the Astros organization, interviewed for the job in 2020.
Yeah.
I think it would be insanity, but he'll be on the short list.
So is Jim Crane. He put himself on a short list. He GM this offseason. Like, that'd be great to see him throw the uniform on, Jimmy.
Goes to Connie Mack, goes in a suit.
Yeah.
Sit in the dugout.
Or or one of his boys, one of his cronies, somebody in the inner circle. I would see the Astros hiring somebody that we've never heard of. If it's even like an Espada, I would say we know is like a known guy in baseball. Yeah. Like I can definitely see him hiring somebody. You're like, who the hell is that? It's like somebody they pay $700,000 a year, does exactly what the computers tell them to do. What do you got, Klemmer?
I'm annoyed at the Astros again. They annoy me all the time. I feel like I want to give a little credit to the Rangers. Chris Young, the GM. Takes over in August. This was after I was hired at Barstool. That's how recently that Chris Young has been GM of the Rangers. He takes over the team. They're a 93 loss team. They're a gutter team. They're awful.
Terrible.
Going nowhere team. He has them in the World Series in 14 months. That is an incredible job. Now, yes, he had some of the pieces there that John Daniels did set up for him, some of the minor leaguers that have kind of flourished here that we've seen, and great moves like the Adolis Garcia trade was fantastic from the Cardinals. So John Daniels deserves his piece of the pie here too. But how about Chris Young? That's a pretty good job.
I didn't like that Chris Young wore blue jeans and Air Force Ones on stage to get the trophy tonight. And I'd not be doing my job if I didn't call it out. He's a Princeton guy. He's Ivy League educated. Nice slacks. Get a pair of tailored slacks.
But I think, isn't that in Texas you wear blue jeans? Maybe he's trying to fit in.
Maybe, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Denim plays. Denim. But the Air Force One, we'll revisit that with Chris Young. Very successful executive.
Yeah, I'm Chris Young. Chris Young. Look at me.
Bro, you are not. Which Ivy League school did you want to go to, Klemmer?
I went to New Hampshire Tech, which is not an Ivy League school. It's the worst community. No, it's fine. It's just that.
You grew up. You wanted to be a brown. You want to be a brown bear.
I don't know. I guess I would have if I would have been Harvard. I'm a Harvard man. I like Francis. Me and Francis would be this. With my grades, I was lucky New Hampshire Tech took me, honestly. That was nice of them to even put me in their school.
All right, well, let's keep our thinking caps on them real quick, and let's make some predictions for Game 7. So I'm going to take the Phillies, I'm going to take the Diamondbacks in Game 7, and the reason is the fact that they got it to this point, and I'm going to call it a coin flip. I think there's a ton of advantages to the Phillies. I think there's a ton of advantages to the Diamondbacks. I think at tomorrow's game, the team that is like more carefree and more aggressive, and I think the Diamondbacks will have an opportunity to take control in the first 5 innings. If they don't, then the game goes to the Phillies. But for that reason, I'm just taking the Diamondbacks, and I have them at like 50.1% as my pick.
I'm going with the Phillies. I like Ranger Suarez here. I don't like him to go deep, but I like a solid 4 innings of no run ball from Suarez. They turned over the bullpen. Might get a little hairy with the pen, but I think the Phillies offense continues to be explosive. I think they find an extra gear here in Game 7 and win a good game.
Okay, so this is different than the Christian Javier start, right? Because Brandon Pfaadt has stuff that you can't time, and if he's on, you can't. But he has to be on, right? The line right now is Phillies minus 162. So the Phillies are heavy.
Wow.
The Phillies have, in my opinion, significantly more talent on their team than I'm not talking about Pfaadt versus Ranger Suarez. I'm talking about the lineups. I'm going to go with the talent here with the Phillies. But if Pfaadt, he wasn't a rookie, but if Pfaadt goes 1985, Brett Saberhagen goes out there and just fucking shuts them down, or, he wasn't a rookie either, but Josh Beckett just going in there and just like fucking pitching the lights out, balls out, let's go. Young guy going out there making a statement game. He showed me a ton in that game too. But at the end of the day, though, rookie Game 7, I can't with good faith get behind that, especially when you have a weaker lineup. I gotta go Phillies here. But I'm strapped and ready to go. I'm super excited for this game. This is awesome. This is almost like a bonus game. I didn't expect us to get this far.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very excited for tomorrow.
I think it's promising is that ALCS Game 7 was on paper, and I was really pumped for the Battle of Texas. Didn't turn out to be that great, but I was super excited. Game 7, Rangers, Astros in Texas. I like Phillies Diamondbacks for more theater and chaos Game 7. It's not as sexy on paper, but the way these two teams match up, I think they're going to give us I think it's going to be a great Game 7. I have every expectation of it. There's 2 things I want to call out about these teams that are glaring differences that could create a huge moment in tomorrow's game. Ranger Suarez is awesome off the mound. He can field his position remarkably well.
Yes.
I don't know if the same can be said for Brandon Pfaadt. I'm not saying he can't. I have no idea. Ranger Suarez is so good at fielding his position off the mound. On the opposite end, Bryce Harper versus Christian Walker might be the biggest difference in first base play. Christian Walker is like a shortstop out there at first base. So if there's a bang bang play at first base, first, second, third, fourth inning that involves these cast of characters, the Phillies have one of the best pitchers at it, one of the worst guys at it. The Diamondbacks are throwing a rookie out there that could be shitting his pants as he's going over to cover first base. Meanwhile, Christian Walker's awesome. And usually in these types of games, it comes down to a certain moment or one bang bang thing. That's something that jumps off the page to me. The first base pitcher defense combos.
I don't trust the Phillies bullpen.
I
don't trust Craig
Kimbrel. You can't Kimbrel's got to be done, right?
I just don't know. So, if the Phillies can win this game 8-2, it would not surprise me at all. They can go in there and mash. I don't think the Diamondbacks can win 8-2, but I think the Phillies can win 8-2. But if it's close, this Diamondbacks team doesn't quit. They don't roll over. We saw that today. So I don't know if I don't know. This is an exciting game. I do want to bitch about one thing. I hate that we have 2 days off and 3 days off for the AL.
Me too.
I understand why they do it. So the series is set up. It's Friday, Saturday, off Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, off Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They're doing it to avoid football. Obviously, they're avoiding the 2 Thursday night games. They're avoiding all day Sunday. I understand why they're doing that. But we have to kind of figure it out where I feel like if you go to Game 7, it should be more of a disadvantage. Now, both teams going to Game 7, so it's not as relevant. But if you sweep someone, you should have a huge advantage going to that Game 1. You're playing someone who has a 7-game series, so your pitching line's up. Now, if somebody is off, your pitching line's up no matter what. I don't like that.
That's a fair complaint. Counter argument, I think the World Series deserves a full reset for both clubs that get there. I think winning your pennant is the grind. Fair. And that the World Series should be everybody give me your best effort. You guys have earned the right to that.
I can see that point of view too, Carl.
Kind of like that week off between the Super Bowl where it's let's get everybody fresh.
Dude,
give us that 100%. Yeah.
It's so hard to get there. I'm looking at Marcus Simeon today rounding the bases, and I'm just saying. My point was I remember sitting here 6 weeks ago and being if Texas stands a chance, they better turn it on. And I'm looking at Marcus Simeon, I'm thinking to myself, man, this guy every day for the last month and a half, every game has been must win, gotta win, gotta play hard, gotta run hard, demands your absolute best. Obviously they're pros, you have to do that, but they're on such a grind, man. The fact like you get 2-3 days, like, all right, dude, take a deep breath. Like you made it to the World Series.
That's fair. I like that. That's fair. I don't mind that point of view. I'm rooting for the Rangers. I think no matter what, they've never won a World Series. And I think it's kind of exciting when teams win a World Series for the first time. So I think no matter what, I'll be pulling for the Rangers in the World Series.
Not only have they not won a World Series, they have come as close as any team has ever come to winning a World Series and not winning it in 2011.
That is so tough to watch.
I think
Red Sox and them. I mean,
really pedigree, big October guy, born in October, conceived. His dad blew that big wad on October.
Ketel Marte, we don't talk about enough on this show. He has the longest hitting streak in postseason history. Yeah. Also, by the way, a guy that doesn't have a lot of postseason experience going into this. Adolis Garcia had none, obviously. It just shows you that might have something to do more with talent and pedigree.
Dude, Adolis, you can't use Adolis Garcia as this example. He got drilled and then hit 5 fucking home runs, Klemmer. He went into absolute beast mode. He tapped in, he went to a completely different place. Use any other player than Adolis Garcia.
He got hit. That was a monster home run.
I mean,
he's just really good.
Yeah, he's very good. He's a very good player. He's one of the best in the world. In fact, he's so good he does it for a living. He's one of the 30 best right fielders in the world.
Right, but he's even better than that. Like, he's one of the best players of that group of amazing athletes. Like I said, I'll always I'll take Garcia. I'll take Ketel Marte. You guys can have Michael Brantley. You guys can have all the pedigree you want. I'll take all the talented guys. We'll see who wins.
I love this so much. I love this.
Too.
We'll see whose pedigree shows up tonight. It's NLCS Game 7. Phillies versus Diamondbacks. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody. Except maybe one of us.
No.
One of us probably said something at one point in the season like, I can see the Diamondbacks and the Phillies in a throwaway power ranking show in May. Maybe.
Wasn't me.
I don't think I did.
I'm not ruling anything out, but yeah, absolutely no one saw this coming.
I think back in May, I was still hoping my Mets would somehow win something. I wasn't thinking about Diamondbacks.
I have a confession. I do have a confession. At the start of the playoffs, I put a wager, not a big wager. It was $100 on what I thought the World Series matchup would be, and it was like 21-1, 22-1, something like that. And it was Rangers Diamondbacks. And I took the money out. I cashed it out to bet the Bears 3 weeks ago because I was like, I want to max the Bears. I want to put more money on it. So I put in the Bears covered, and then the Bears covered last week. I've since lost that money. But if you think I'm not kicking myself in the butt cheeks right now, I mean, for the Bears Commanders Thursday night, for a Thursday night football game, I cashed his future out. So if you feel stupid listening to this, I guarantee you I'm dumber than you are. So I have a better day than you are right now. I'm telling you, someone out there is dumber than you are. His name's Barstool Carl. And I suck.
We're all going to have a great day today because it's a Game 7. We're so lucky to have them. I love them. Let's go. I've been alive a long time, old as fuck, and I don't have too many of these, and I love them, and they're all are awesome. There's nothing more exciting than like the half hour before the game, right? When you know you're sitting down, you get the popcorn ready, you're on your couch, whatever. It's like, I'm going to watch a fucking Game 7. Whoever wins this is going to the World Series. That is awesome. It was awesome when I was fucking 7 years old. It's awesome when I'm 43 years old. It's awesome.
Perfectly said. This is Barstool Baseball. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Good luck to both teams. No injuries. And we will see you for, quite literally, the best World Series preview show of all time. But we got to get through Game 7 first. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.